There was a deaf boy who was nice and friendly. He was in middle school, but he hated his middle school. He hated it because all the students and even teachers there would just pick on him. They picked on him because he was deaf. They would say, "You can't drive, you can't fly, you can't do all these things, you can't do anything because you're deaf." He just felt little and worthless because he was deaf. He wished he was hearing like all the other kids so that he wouldn't be picked on. But he just accepted it and moved on. I mean, there was this one boy who was kind of his friend. He was a nerd and, had big glasses. But he was a nice boy. He was very smart. He loved science and video games. He was tall. He would just go on and on about things. And he would interpret for him for sometimes. But he was kind of nice, so he tolerated him. They were both on the bus one early morning. They're on their way to school. The deaf boy was looking out the window, just dreaming about becoming a pilot. He'd be the hero, the first deaf. And then the nerd boy tapped him on the shoulder. The nerd boy says, "Hi." He was just bothered. He didn't want to talk to him, but the nerd boy tapped him on the shoulder again, and then the deaf boy noticed he had this weird bubbly green drink in his hand. The nerd boy gave it to him, so the deaf kid smelled it. "Oh my gosh, it smells awful." The nerd goes, "No, drink this." So the deaf kid goes, "Fine, I'll drink it to make you happy." So he throws it back and spits it out, and it's coughing all over the place. He's trying to cough it up because it was just tasted awful. He said, "What is in that? I don't want to drink that again." The nerd kid was laughing at him, giving him a thumbs up. He kind of spilt some on his shirt, but whatever. They got to school, and the deaf boy saw his interpreter. She was beautiful. She said, "Good morning." He said, "Good morning." She said, "Are you excited for gym today?" "Gym? Oh, that's right. We're playing dodgeball in gym today. Totally forgot. Not looking forward to that." So he went in, they played dodgeball, and of course, all the kids always threw dodgeballs at him. He was always the one being hit over and over and over again. He got bored of it. All the other kids were excited, but he was just bored of it because everyone targeted him. So gym was done, and then he went to his next class. He went to his locker to get all of his books, put on his backpack, and headed off to English class. He wasn't really excited for English class because his English teacher was very, very snooty. She would look down on him and judge him because he was deaf. She would say, "You can't use ASL, you need to use English." And she was just really mean to me. She would say over and over again, "You need to use English, you need to use English. ASL is worthless." But I would just ignore her. So I went to go into the room, and then this boy named Roy, he is the biggest bully ever. He's got these big muscles, he thinks he's all that. And honestly, he is spoiled. His mom and dad just gives him whatever he wants. If he wants a video game, they give it to him. If he wants ATV, they give it to him. He is also very two-faced. He's nice when you talk to him in person, but then he slanders you behind your back. So, I don't like Roy. But he met up with me right in front of the door. He said, "You suck at dodgeball." "Oh, wait, I think it's because you're deaf." My interpreter was interpreting for me, but she was getting mad too. I said, "Excuse me, I need to get to my English class, please. I'm just sick of him." He said, "You can't go into English class. Remember what the teacher said? You can't use ASL. You have to use English." I said, "I can't go into English class because I'm deaf?" He said, "Yeah." I took my backpack off and slammed it into the locker. Roy was taken aback. And then he said, "The deaf boy's just such an idiot." My interpreter was interpreting for me, and then all of a sudden, she looked up and said, "My God." All of a sudden, my muscles were expanding, my chest was growing. The whole room was shaking, it felt like. My feet got twice as big as they were. I was growing 3 times as tall as I was. My muscles turned into, like, the Hulk. And then my skin turned green. I was just huge. My veins were bulging out of my neck and my chest. And my interpreter, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And she just ran away. Roy turned back and looked at me and screamed in terror. Oh my gosh, don't hurt me. I'm so sorry. No, don't hurt me. I was just so mad looking down at him. He was half my height now. He said, I'm so sorry. But I took him by his legs and he was dangling there. I thought it was hilarious. Roy was screaming and begging for mercy. And I was just growling like the beast that I was. He said, you oppress deaf, and that is not right. He was so scared. In the locker door, I slammed him in the locker door again and again and again. He said, oh, my head is hurting. I'm just so sorry. And I threw him down the school hallway and he landed on the floor, sprawled out, blacked out. I was looking around, heaving. I was just so angry. I walked out of the school doors running. I've been used to the big school building ever since I've started school, but now I was so tall that it just looked so little. I looked and I saw my English teacher and she was saying, you need to get into class. You are supposed to be in your English class. And I was like, I didn't understand what she was saying. She was talking like I'm deaf. It's so stupid. But that's what she was. She was a snooty, rich English teacher. But I was looking all over the parking lot for her car. So I ran to her car, stomping the ground. The ground was shaking because I was so huge. And then I stomped right on her car, and it just smashed to pieces. I just laughed. She said, what? Oh my gosh. She knelt down. She was crying. And I just laughed at her. Then I looked around. I saw 2 ambulances arrive, and then all of a sudden, cops started arriving. They're shooting guns at me. I see a helicopter over my shoulder. Everyone's after me now. But I said, I can't hear it. I don't know what you're saying to me. And then they pointed their gun at me, but I just snatched them right up. And then I yelled as loud as I could. But they all dropped their guns because it was so loud. It was so loud that their windows in their cars just shattered. Then they all of a sudden, they all got back into their cars and scattered. And there was no one there. I said, I love being deaf. I'm good at being deaf. Then, all of a sudden, it started shrinking back to normal. I look around and I was the normal size and the building was the normal size. My teacher was still crying about her car. And I was like, wait, I need to get to math class. So I run down the hall. I go and I sit in my math class. The nerd boy was looking at me laughing. I said, what? Man, why the heck did you have to do that? Why did you have to make me a Hulk? And then Roy sees me and runs away in terror. He goes, wait, you were so scary. And my math teacher just looks at me and says, or looks at Roy and says, Roy, what's wrong? He says, well, that boy beat me up. He threw me into a locker and then he threw me all the way down the hall. The teacher just looks at me and I go, it's crazy. And she just kind of laughs. She says, what's wrong with you, Roy? Anyways, then she goes on about her lecture. My interpreter just goes, oh my God. And I look at the nerd boy and I said, you are my best friend.